welcome to Ngal Fashion Store. My name is Chidera, and today we'll be watching a video titled Pro-Choice Student Flips. Stay tuned and not touch that dial. Thank you.
Hey Charlie, it's nice to meet you. I wanted to have a discussion with you on abortion. My position currently, but it's open to change, is that I'm pro-choice up until the 20-week mark, where my understanding is the studies say that the subjective conscious experience is what I kind of value about life. And so I kind of draw the line right there, and then abortion's past then, I would be in favor of outlawing.
Okay.
What's your position on that?
It's a reasonable question. Would you say we should stop abortions when brain waves start?
Yeah. Well, I mean, if brain waves are an indication of the subjective conscious experience, then I'd say yes.
Okay, so 6 weeks, not 20 weeks.
If that's when the mark is, and the parts of the brain are communicating with each other to deploy the subjective conscious, I'm fine with 6 weeks.
Okay,
yeah.
so are human beings more than brain waves?
Are they more than brain
Are you
waves?
more than just brain waves?
No. I don't think so.
So you're nothing more than just brain waves?
I don't think so, personally.
Okay.
I think that's the most important thing. Like, the example that I would give you, the example that I would give is a person in comatose, right, who's indefinitely in coma and is not going to wake up, is hooked on life support.
Right.
Arguably, they have the unique DNA, they have the heartbeat still going, connected to the ventilator. I don't know if you would agree with that, but arguably the most important part that we're looking at there is whether they're awake or not. If they're not going to wake up, I wouldn't consider it murder to kill that
People
person.
come out of comas all the time.
That's true. That's true.
If you want, you can come up in a sec. Yeah.
I would say that just because there's a temporary lapse in the communication between like the brain, or just because there's a temporary lapse in you still have the parts of the brain that are able to deploy the subjective conscious experience.
Can we come out to some agreement? Heartbeat and brain waves probably a good time to cut off abortion, because that's right around 6 to 8 weeks, right around there.
Sure. I'm not fine with that.
So you're like a radical right winger, man. So
I'm not like
that's.
I'm not like a. I don't want to be like
a hard time. You're coming here in good faith.
It's fine. Yeah, sure.
But at least you're looking at some sort of rational restriction, right? And
sure, of course. Yeah.
The radical left,
like,
they say no restrictions whatsoever. Just let the mother choose.
Yeah, I don't agree with that.
No. I'm not saying you do. But
no.
And it on its face, it doesn't make any sense, because if it's the mother's choice, always if the baby's completely viable, right, throughout the gestational period, even the third trimester, a third trimester baby at 28, 29, 30 weeks can survive outside of the womb. How is it any different than in the womb, right?
Sure,
and
of course,
so a value of a baby does not change just because the size, level of development, environment, or degree of dependency that the baby has on the mother.
Yeah,
and so those of us that are pro-life, we articulate a position that is not always popular, but it's morally correct, which is that life begins at conception, which it begins when new DNA is formed, and you are not fully formed at that beginning, but that is when human life actually begins.
I don't mean this as a gotcha question, but it's actually
You
genuinely
can try your best.
curiosity. No, it's not.
I've heard almost all of them.
Sure. Would you consider Plan B like murder? Because there's
it could be. So Plan B, we don't know if it actually is terminating a fertilized egg.
Okay.
So because Plan B could be an abortifacient, but it is taken as a precautionary potential abortifacient, right?
Sure.
So there's a difference between what is an at-home abortion, which is now widespread, where someone knows that they are currently in a gestational 39, 40-week development of a human being, whereas Plan B is like, I had unprotected sex, I'm going to take this just in case, right?
Okay.
And essentially what Plan B does is it nuclear bombs all the eggs, right?
Okay.
For that particular, and excuse the graphic nature of it, but that's what it does. So it depends on if the egg is actually fertilized or not, which is, I would never, encourage anyone to use Plan B, but it's a little more complicated than
I understand. And then my second question,
yes.
Just another hypothetical situation that I've heard on a podcast. I know you've been on the Whatever podcast.
Yep. It's right down the street. They film right down the street, by the way, in Santa Barbara.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I really like watching they have good content.
Yeah, it's not a great group of people, but yeah.
Oh, really? Why? Okay, well, I won't.
It's pretty self-evident, but yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, anyway, so there was a woman on there. Her name was Jasmine, and I thought she posed like a pretty interesting hypothetical where there's a burning building, right, and you have 10 fertilized embryos and 3 live babies, and it's burning, and you only have an option to choose one. Which one are you saving?
That's a tough question. I mean, first of all, it depends if the embryos will ever be used. That's the better question. So if you can guarantee the embryos will then be used into full fertilization, then to be consistent, you would have to save the 10 embryos.
Okay.
If they're fully fertilized, then will be used, yes. But
Okay.
the 3 babies have already gone through the entire gestational period, survived potential miscarriages, other side of birth-related issues. But that's a fair and very good question that to be principled, you have to answer it
Sure,
a certain
sure.
way.
In summary of everything of the video, abortion is actually not a good option. Everyday women especially make choices on abortion. This means murdering the child. Abortion is a sin, and one of the commandments of God says killing or murdering someone is a sin which is not going to be taken lightly with the person. So I want you to subscribe, like, comment, and share this video. Ngal Fashion Store, fashion makes sense. Thank you.